The metal shackles clinked against the defendant's table as Colonel Marcus Thompson shifted in the uncomfortable chair. The Fort Bragg courtroom buzzed with whispered conversations, every eye fixed on the man they believed was a fraud. "Look at him," sneered Captain Bradley, the lead JAG prosecutor, loud enough for the gallery to hear. "Claims he's some kind of decorated colonel, but where's his proof? Probably bought those ribbons online." Major Stevens, his co-prosecutor, chuckled. "These stolen valor cases get more pathetic every year. What's next? Claiming he was Delta Force." Thompson kept his eyes forward, maintaining perfect military posture despite the restraints. The MPs flanking him exchanged knowing looks, treating him like common criminal rather than observing proper officer courtesy protocols. "Your Honor," Captain Bradley addressed the bench, "the defendant refuses to provide verification for his alleged service record. We believe this is a clear case of impersonation of a military officer." Judge Colonel Harrison nodded dismissively. "Proceed with your case, Captain. Let's expose this charlatan." The gallery murmured approval as Thompson remained silent, his weathered hands steady despite the mounting accusations. 3 decades of classified service had taught him patience, but time was running short. Captain Bradley stood and approached the evidence table, holding up a display case containing military ribbons and medals. "These so-called decorations," he announced with theatrical disgust, "include a silver star, bronze star with V device, and a Purple Heart. All unverified." "Objection, Your Honor," Thompson's defense counsel interjected. "My client's service record is classified." "Overruled," Judge Harrison snapped. "If the defendant can't prove his service, these medals are inadmissible." Major Stevens smirked. "Notice how he won't even speak? Classic stolen valor behavior. They clam up when confronted with facts." The court clerk deliberately addressed Thompson as Mr. Thompson rather than using any military rank, violating basic military courtesy. The MPs positioned themselves as if guarding a dangerous criminal. "Let's examine his alleged unit assignments," Bradley continued, consulting his notes with exaggerated skepticism. "Claims to have served with units that don't appear in any standard Army directory. Convenient, isn't it?" Thompson's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. His actual unit designations were compartmentalized at levels these officers would never access. "Your Honor," Bradley proclaimed, "this man has disrespected every genuine service member by wearing decorations he never earned. The Army deserves justice." The gallery nodded in agreement, their contempt palpable. A sharp knock interrupted the proceedings. A Navy communications officer entered, carrying a classified briefing folder marked with red stripes. "Eyes only." "Your Honor," the officer announced urgently, "I have an emergency briefing from JSOC regarding Operation Nightfall. Immediate command decision required." Judge Harrison frowned. "This court is in session, Lieutenant. Whatever this is can wait." "Sir, with respect, multiple assets are compromised. We need someone with Tier 1 clearance immediately." The lieutenant's voice carried genuine panic. "The situation is deteriorating rapidly." Thompson's head lifted slightly. Operation Nightfall. He recognized the code name from his classified past, a joint task force operation he'd helped design 3 years ago. His pulse quickened. Captain Bradley scoffed. "Your Honor, this is clearly a desperate distraction orchestrated by the defense. I can provide the authentication codes." Thompson spoke for the first time, his voice steady and commanding. "Nightfall 7-7 Alpha Whiskey. Confirmation, Eagle's Nest." The communications officer's eyes widened in shock. Those codes were compartmentalized at the highest levels. "How could you possibly?" the lieutenant started. Judge Harrison slammed his gavel. "The defendant will remain silent. This court will not be manipulated by desperate theatrics." But Thompson had already seen the recognition in the young officer's face. Time was running out for more than just this trial. The communications officer stared at Thompson in disbelief. "Sir, those codes are compartmentalized above your clearance level." Thompson finished calmly. "Lieutenant, contact Colonel Martinez at JSOC. Tell him Ghost Protocol is requesting immediate authentication for Operation Nightfall asset extraction. Captain Bradley jumped to his feet. Your Honor, this is an elaborate charade. The defendant is attempting to manipulate classified information he couldn't possibly possess. Ghost Protocol was terminated 2 years ago, the lieutenant whispered, his face pale. Only 3 people knew that designation. Thompson's eyes remained fixed on the young officer. The third asset team is compromised at grid reference 34S04456728. They have approximately 14 minutes before enemy forces converge on their position. Major Stevens laughed harshly. Convenient timing. He's making up military-sounding gibberish to confuse this court. Lieutenant, Thompson continued with quiet authority, the extraction helicopter is call sign Reaper 6. They're operating on frequency 142.375 MHz. You need to redirect them to alternate LZ Bravo immediately. The communications officer's hand trembled as he reached for his secure radio. The specificity of the information was impossible to fabricate. Grid references, frequencies, call signs all match current operational parameters. Your Honor, Bradley demanded, I insist this circus end immediately. But doubt was creeping into Judge Harrison's expression as he watched the lieutenant's shocked reaction to Thompson's impossible knowledge. Lieutenant, I need access to a SIPR terminal immediately, Thompson commanded, his voice cutting through the courtroom chaos. Lives are at stake. Judge Harrison slammed his gavel. The defendant will not be given access to classified systems. He's a security risk. The communications officer hesitated, torn between protocol and the urgency in Thompson's voice. Sir, I don't have authority to... Then get someone who does. Thompson's command presence filled the room. Contact General Morrison at the Pentagon. Authentication code, Thunder 779er. Tell him Colonel Ghost needs immediate SCIF access. Captain Bradley's face reddened with fury. Your Honor, this is exactly what stolen valor criminals do. They memorize terminology to sound legitimate. The extraction window closes in 11 minutes, Thompson continued, ignoring the prosecutor. 3rd Squad, Delta Company, 2nd Battalion. They're pinned down by hostile forces with no egress route. Major Stevens scoffed. More military gibberish. Anyone can look up unit designations online. But the lieutenant was already speaking rapidly into his secure radio. Control. This is Bravo 7. Need immediate verification on authentication Thunder 779er. Requesting General Morrison. The response crackled back within seconds. Stand by for priority authentication verification. Thompson's eyes never left the communications officer. Tell them the package is 12 clicks southwest of Objective Cairo. They need immediate close air support. The room fell silent as everyone awaited the radio response. The secure radio crackled to life with crystalline clarity. Authentication confirmed. General Morrison requests immediate secure line to requesting party. Priority Alpha clearance verified. The courtroom went dead silent. Captain Bradley's confident smirk vanished as the lieutenant's face went white with shock. Sir, the communications officer stammered, looking at Thompson with new recognition. General Morrison is... He's asking for you personally. Judge Harrison's gavel froze midair. That's impossible. This man is a defendant facing fraud charges. Your Honor, the lieutenant's voice was barely a whisper. The authentication code he provided, it's current as of this morning. Only personnel with Tier 1 special access would know it. Major Stevens shook his head vigorously. There has to be an explanation. He somehow compromised classified information. Thompson remained perfectly still, his weathered hands steady despite the shackles. Lieutenant, tell the General that Ghost Protocol requests immediate extraction authorization for Operation Nightfall assets. Time to target, 7 minutes. The young officer's training warred with disbelief. Sir, I need to verify your identity through proper channels. Then do it, Thompson replied calmly. But those soldiers don't have time for bureaucracy. Captain Bradley's voice cracked slightly. Your Honor, we need to postpone these proceedings until we understand what's happening. For the first time, doubt flickered across Judge Harrison's face as he watched the impossible unfold before his eyes. The courtroom doors burst open with military precision. 6 members of the Secretary's protective detail entered first, their eyes scanning for threats. Behind them walked a figure that made every person in uniform snap to attention. Secretary of Defense Patricia Morrison stepped into the courtroom, her 4-star general aide-de-camp at her side. The entire room rose as one, including Judge Harrison, who looked stunned beyond words. "As you were," Secretary Morrison commanded, her voice carrying absolute authority. Her eyes found Thompson immediately, and she walked directly to him with purpose. "Colonel Thompson," she said clearly, using his proper rank for the first time in the proceedings. "I apologize for the delay. Your cover status made immediate response complicated." Captain Bradley's mouth fell open in shock. Major Stevens gripped his table for support. Secretary Morrison turned to address the court. "This man is operating under classified protocols that require the highest levels of security clearance to understand. His identity and service record are compartmentalized for national security reasons." She approached Thompson's table and spoke quietly to the MP. "Remove those restraints immediately." The MP looked to Judge Harrison, who nodded numbly. As the shackles fell away, Thompson stood and rendered a crisp salute. "Madam Secretary." Morrison returned the salute with military precision. "Colonel, we have a situation that requires your immediate attention. Your country needs you." The transformation in the room was palpable as everyone realized they had gravely misjudged the man before them. Secretary Morrison addressed the stunned courtroom with measured authority. "What you've witnessed here today was not a court-martial, but an elaborate operational security measure designed to maintain Colonel Thompson's cover identity." Captain Bradley's face went ashen. "Ma'am, I don't understand. Colonel Thompson has spent the last 3 years operating under deep cover for a joint task force that doesn't officially exist," Morrison explained. "His apparent disgrace was necessary to maintain operational integrity." She gestured to Thompson, who stood at perfect attention. "This officer has commanded classified operations across 4 continents. His service record includes the Medal of Honor, though that decoration remains classified for obvious reasons." Major Stevens stammered, but the charges, the evidence, all fabricated as part of his cover legend." Morrison replied curtly. Even his defense counsel was unaware of his true status. Only myself and 3 other individuals knew the complete operational picture. Thompson's aide-de-camp handed Morrison a classified folder marked with the highest security classifications. "Colonel Thompson's actual service record," she announced, "includes command of Joint Special Operations Task Force Phoenix, multiple classified combat deployments, and direct advisory roles to the National Security Council." Judge Harrison found his voice. "Madam Secretary, how are we supposed to know?" Morrison's expression remained stern. "You weren't. That was the point. However, Operation Nightfall has compromised his cover, requiring immediate extraction from this assignment." The room watched in awe as their understanding of everything completely reversed. "Colonel Thompson," Secretary Morrison said formally, "I'm reactivating your command authority effective immediately. Operation Nightfall requires your strategic oversight." Thompson straightened, the transformation visible to everyone present. Gone was the defeated defendant. In his place stood a seasoned military commander with 3 decades of classified experience. "Ma'am, current tactical situation?" Thompson asked with crisp professionalism. 12-man reconnaissance team compromised deep in hostile territory. Conventional extraction deemed impossible. They need someone who understands the operational parameters you designed. Thompson turned to the communications officer, who now stood at attention. "Lieutenant, patch me through to JSOC Operations Center. Encryption level Zulu." "Yes, sir." The lieutenant's response carried new respect as he rapidly established the secure connection. "This is Ghost Actual." Thompson spoke into the handset with commanding authority. Authorize immediate deployment of QRF Alpha to Grid 34S04456728. Execute Contingency Plan Echo 7. The voice responded instantly. Ghost Actual, Roger. QRF Alpha inbound. ETA 12 minutes to target. Captain Bradley and Major Stevens watched in stunned silence as they witnessed genuine command presence. Every person in the courtroom could feel the shift. This was no fraud, but a legitimate military leader operating at the highest levels. Colonel, Morrison added, your cover identity is now burned. We'll need to establish new operational parameters. Thompson nodded grimly. Understood, ma'am. Mission first. Thompson moved to the communications station with purpose, the lieutenant immediately stepping aside to give him full access. JSOC Actual, this is Ghost. I need real-time drone surveillance on target area and immediate close air support authorization. Ghost Actual, this is General Martinez. Confirming your voice authentication. Predator drone Reaper 2-1 is on station. CS package standing by. The courtroom watched in fascination as Thompson coordinated a live military operation with the precision of a master strategist. Captain Bradley found himself leaning forward, no longer seeing a fraud, but witnessing genuine military expertise. Martinez, the team is pinned in a natural depression approximately 200 meters southeast of the primary objective. Hostile forces approaching from 3 directions: north, east, and southwest corridors. Copy, Ghost. Thermal imaging confirms 12 friendly signatures, approximately 40 hostiles converging. Thompson studied the tactical display the lieutenant had activated. Execute diversionary strike on the ridgeline coordinates I'm transmitting now. Create an egress window for 30 seconds. Then redirect SAS to cover the extraction LZ. Roger that, Ghost. Hellfire missiles inbound to diversionary target in 90 seconds. Secretary Morrison observed Thompson's command presence with obvious approval. Judge Harrison and the court personnel watched with growing understanding. This was what authentic military leadership looked like. All units, this is Ghost Actual. Execute Extraction Protocol Alpha on my mark. Thompson's voice carried the authority of countless successful operations. Ghost Actual, this is Reaper 2-1. All 12 friendly assets successfully extracted. Mission accomplished. The relief in the pilot's voice was audible throughout the courtroom. Thompson set down the handset and turned to face the room. Operation complete, ma'am. All personnel accounted for. Secretary Morrison nodded with visible satisfaction. Outstanding work, Colonel. She then addressed Judge Harrison directly. Your Honor, I formally request that all charges against Colonel Thompson be dismissed immediately and all records of these proceedings be classified at the highest levels. Judge Harrison rose, his earlier skepticism completely replaced by respectful acknowledgement. Charges dismissed with prejudice. All court records are hereby sealed under national security provisions. Captain Bradley stepped forward, his face flushed with embarrassment. Sir, we had no idea. Our sincere apologies for. Thompson raised his hand. Captain, you performed your duties according to the information available. That's all any soldier can do. Major Stevens added shakily. Colonel, your bearing under pressure was exemplary. We should have recognized. You saw what you were meant to see. Thompson replied with quiet dignity. The cover story was designed to be convincing. Secretary Morrison addressed the room. Everyone present is now bound by classification requirements regarding Colonel Thompson's identity and service record. His continued operational effectiveness depends on absolute discretion. The transformation was complete, from defendant to respected commander, in the span of minutes. Secretary Morrison handed Thompson a new classified folder marked with fresh operational codes. Colonel, your next assignment requires immediate deployment. We've prepared a new cover identity and operational parameters. Thompson accepted the folder with professional composure. Duration of assignment, ma'am? Indefinite. The threats we're facing require long-term strategic thinking, your specialty. Morrison's tone carried both respect and urgency. Your previous cover as a disgraced officer proved remarkably effective for intelligence gathering. Judge Harrison approached with genuine humility. Colonel, this court learned valuable lessons today about operational security and the sacrifices our classified personnel make. Your Honor, the military justice system performed exactly as designed. Sometimes the truth must remain hidden for the greater good. Thompson replied with measured grace. Captain Bradley extended his hand. Sir, it was an honor to witness authentic leadership under impossible circumstances. Your restraint throughout this process was inspiring. Thompson shook his hand firmly. Captain, never stop questioning. That skepticism protects our institutions. Secretary Morrison nodded toward the exit. Colonel, your transport is waiting. The mission briefing begins in 30 minutes. As Thompson walked toward the door, every person in the courtroom came to attention, a natural response to genuine authority. He paused at the threshold and looked back. Remember, he said quietly, the most important battles are often fought by people whose names will never be known. With that, Colonel Ghost Thompson disappeared into the shadows once again, ready to serve his country in ways that would remain forever classified.